Welcome everyone. This is update or episode 9 of my Honest Schizophrenic update channel. I appreciate you guys, jumping on and watching my videos and keeping up to date with my content. I appreciate you guys leaving comments and really being active, asking questions and giving me advice and just helping me kind of reflect and think about what's going on and what I experience. So I appreciate you guys, all of you. Today's video, it's really going to be a Schizophrenia 101 crash course. I thought it would be important to take some time to really define or describe what is schizophrenia. Because schizophrenia it's a big term, it's an umbrella term, and that's because schizophrenia by itself, it's a spectrum, meaning how I experience my schizophrenia will be different from someone else, and their experience with their illness, in this case schizophrenia. So, it's really, schizophrenia impacts people differently. When it comes to symptoms, there's some symptoms I experience that someone else might not, and vice versa. And so that's why it's important for us to really break it down and just try to hit those key points of what is schizophrenia, what is it about, how does it show itself, what are the signs. Because if you know the signs, you have a lot better chance to support and help the person, whether it's a family member, a spouse, a child, one of your kids, a friend. If you know what to look for, you're going to be able to support them a little bit better. And so that's what this video is about. While I break down what schizophrenia is and its symptoms and the causes and the treatment, I'm going to be talking about my experience as well. So I'm going to break down different key points of kind of what those key points have looked like in my life, to better help you understand how it can show itself in someone's life. So hopefully this video is helpful to you guys. I'm about to sneeze. I've been sneezing a lot today. But like I said, I hope this video is helpful to you guys. It definitely was helpful to me. It's helping me make these videos to get my thoughts down. So it's hopefully beneficial for both of us. For those who are new to my channel, my name is Steven. I am 33 years old. I live in St. Cloud, Minnesota. I was diagnosed with schizophrenia in college. So that was coming up to about 15 years ago. Before I was diagnosed in college, I was experiencing schizophrenia symptoms in high school. Back then I didn't really know what that meant, but looking while I was in college and even now I can look back and be like, that definitely was early onset schizophrenia in my youth, in my teenage days, specifically high school. So I've had schizophrenia for a long time. As the title suggests of my video, I like to call myself schizophrenic. I believe for me it's very empowering. It's very empowering for me to use the term schizophrenic. It gives me a lot of joy and happiness because the truth is schizophrenia is a part of who I am. It's not all of me. I'm just not a mentally ill person. I'm a lot more than that, but schizophrenia still is a major part of who I am. It impacts my daily life, how I think, how I act, my choices, my behavior. So when I call myself schizophrenic, when I use the term in my videos to describe just the journey and the illness, If you get offended, I'm going to be honest. I really don't care. I'm not sorry for offending you. And one of the reasons is because we have free will, we have agency. You have a right to believe what you believe, I have a right to believe what I believe. So if anything I say offends people when it comes to schizophrenia and how I describe it and how I talk about it, cool story. I mean, you can always go to the next video. I just find, using phrases that people call person first or person centered language, so saying a person with schizophrenia, I mean, I guess you could say that. I guess it's the same thing, but I just find, why not go straight to the point? Break it down, make it simple, so people understand. Schizophrenic, bang. It's simple and to the point. But yeah, and so you're gonna notice I use that term in these videos. But yeah, otherwise we're already 6 minutes in, so I want to get to the point of this video, which is talking about Schizophrenia 101 and breaking it down and really just being like, what the hell does it mean to have schizophrenia, like, period. I'm going to be going to a couple different sites. One of the sites is from NAMI. That is spelled NAMI. It stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. NAMI is a pretty dang big organization. I'm about 99% sure they're all over the world. Like, I think I've seen NAMI in a whole bunch of different other countries too, not just in the US. So some of my information is coming from them. I also am using some information from the Mayo Clinic, which is a very prestigious hospital/clinic in Rochester, I believe, in Minnesota. So that's where I'm getting my information, just so you guys know that I'm not just making it up out of my ass, out of my mind. But yeah, I'm getting my information from that area. Pardon my French, I just realized I swore. Okay. I didn't mean to swear. I don't know why I swore when I could have said it. I could have said it without swearing. But yeah, let's get into it. So NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the way they describe schizophrenia is schizophrenia is a serious mental illness that interferes with a person's ability to think clearly, manage emotions, make decisions, and relate to others. The prevalence of schizophrenia, it's a little bit difficult to measure, but different studies have tried. NAMI itself says the estimate range is between 0.25% to 0.64% of U.S. adults. I've seen other studies in different hospitals quoting 1 in 100 people have schizophrenia in the U.S. So pick whichever one you want to believe. Although schizophrenia can occur at any age, the average age of onset tends to be in the late teens to the early 20s for men and the late 20s to early 30s for women. It is uncommon for schizophrenia to be diagnosed in a person younger than 12 or older than 40, but it does happen. For me personally, I fit in the late teens to early 20s bracket when it comes to schizophrenia. Like I mentioned in the intro, I first experienced my schizophrenia symptoms in high school, about, I would say in the middle, kind of around my junior year of high school. So I was around 16, 17 at that time. So that's kind of where I fit in, and then it got progressively worse while I went to college. In this video also, I wanted to break down the difference between positive symptoms and negative symptoms, because there's quite a big difference, and schizophrenics we experience those differently. I know quite a lot of people. I know quite a lot of people who have schizophrenia who have more positive symptoms than negative symptoms. I know some who have it vice versa. They have more negative symptoms than positive symptoms. So it's really, schizophrenia is one of those mental illnesses that it's can be difficult to comprehend, to understand, and even to diagnose with people, and we'll talk about that later as well. If anyone knows what the DSM is, it's a diagnostic manual that medical providers use to diagnose people when it comes to illnesses. It has thousands of illnesses in that book, but the DSM, they come out with a new one every year that can tell you many things. For me, it just really proves the point that they don't understand even 1% of mental health, especially when it comes to schizophrenia. Like, our mental health field in the US, like, they have no idea what they're doing. I feel like they're just making it up as they go. Like, they're like, oh, this seems to work, or this doesn't work. It's just, with my experience in psych wards and hospitals, in the emergency room, like, I got the feeling that they were just kind of not even really aware of how to tackle the issue. It was more of like a Band-Aid system of, let's put a Band-Aid over it because we don't really know how to treat it. But that's a whole nother video, guys. So let's get into symptoms, really. Like I said, we're going to be breaking down the difference between positive and negative symptoms. That will be a little bit later, but I wanted to give you a quick summary of symptoms in general before we break it down in depth. NAMI, on their website, it says it can be difficult to diagnose schizophrenia. It can be difficult to diagnose schizophrenia in teens. This is because the first signs can include a change of friends, a drop in grades, sleep problems, irritability, common and non-specific adolescent behavior. Other factors include isolating oneself, withdrawing from others, an increase in unusual thoughts and suspicions, a family history of psychosis. In young people who develop schizophrenia, this stage of the disorder is called the prodromal period. With any condition, it's essential to get a comprehensive medical evaluation in order to obtain the best diagnosis. For a diagnosis of schizophrenia, some of the following symptoms are present in the context of reduced functioning for at least 6 months. Now, going back quickly to the one about teens, I basically hit everything they mentioned when I was in high school. I had a big change of friends. I started out having quite a few friends in high school, like other high school students, and then as my tenure of being a high school student went on, that shifted and changed to where I stopped hanging out with a lot of them. I stopped talking to a lot of them. I just didn't want to associate with any of them, and I started hanging out with a crowd that was not a good influence. Started drinking, smoking, whether it was cigarettes, tobacco, marijuana, doing shrooms. I remember going to parties and they had Coke at the parties. Like, I just switched my friend group real quick in high school. Dropping grades, that happened about junior year of high school. It happened. Started having sleep problems. I definitely was irritable. Isolating oneself. I isolated myself quite a lot. I had several suicide attempts in high school, self-harm, unusual thoughts and suspicions. In other words, I did have bouts of paranoia and delusions in high school. And family history. My biological mother had schizophrenia, so I definitely have a family history of it. So, like, in terms of that diagnosis of schizophrenia in teens, like, I check the boxes for sure. But when it comes to the overall symptoms of schizophrenia, so that way it's easier for the layman or the everyday person to understand what it is. So there's these main symptoms, I guess you could call them, the main ones, where if you are diagnosed with schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder, because the schizophrenia part, the symptoms have to be present for at least 6 months. So the main symptoms that people think about when they see someone on a TV show or in a movie having schizophrenia, these are the symptoms that normally are portrayed. Hallucinations, most people know those. These include a person hearing voices, seeing things, smelling things others can't perceive. The hallucination is very real to the person experiencing it. It may be very confusing for a loved one to witness. The voices in the hallucination can be critical or threatening. Voices may involve people that are known or unknown to the person hearing them. Hallucinations are, a lot of people kind of know about them, that it's part of schizophrenia, just because when it comes to movies and stuff, that's one of the easiest things to portray and to act out, I guess. But yeah, that's what people see a lot. The movie A Beautiful Mind, I think it's called, they had the guy in the movie had hallucinations throughout the whole movie. He was imagining like his friend who would talk to him throughout the movie. I think there's a little girl that he was hallucinating in the movie. But yeah, hallucinations, that's one of them. Delusions, these are false beliefs that don't change even when the person holds them is presented with new ideas or facts. People who have delusions often also have problems concentrating, confused thinking, or the sense that their thoughts are blocked. That is also something that I would feel is kind of common knowledge, layman knowledge. Hallucinations and delusions definitely are the two big ones that probably people hear most commonly. You have negative symptoms that we're going to be talking about later. Negative symptoms are ones that diminish a person's abilities. Negative symptoms often include being emotionally flat or speaking in a dull, disconnected way. People with negative symptoms may be unable to start or follow through with activities, show little interest in life, or sustain relationships. Negative symptoms are sometimes confused with clinical depression, which definitely happened to me. For the longest time, my doctors had thought and kept telling me I was clinically depressed. And like, no matter how much I tried to explain what was going on, they were like, nope, that's clinical depression. And it's like, no, there's something else going on. Like these voices aren't normal, and what I see is not normal, and how I'm feeling is not normal. Like, this is not just depression. I'm not just sad. Like, yeah. But negative symptoms we'll talk about in a little bit. And then one of the final ones of the major symptoms that people think about when it comes to schizophrenia are cognitive issues and disorganized thinking. People with the cognitive symptoms of schizophrenia often struggle to remember things, organize their thoughts, or complete tasks. Commonly, people with schizophrenia have a lack of insight. This means the person is unaware that he has the illness, which can make treating or working with them much more challenging. What I would like to add to this part is, even when someone who has schizophrenia knows that they have the illness, it can still be very, very difficult to be treated and to work with that person. Whether they're unaware or aware, schizophrenia doesn't care. The illness does not care. It's still going to try its best to confuse you, whether you accept that you have it or not. I just think when it comes to lack of insight, a lot of people put a heavy emphasis on it, but they don't talk about the opposite that can happen, which is even if you have insight, it can still be very difficult to try to do the same thing, which is to get treated and to, to be able to be worked with and be teachable. And yeah, it's just, it can go both ways. Let's continue. Now, causes of schizophrenia. There's 4 main ones that they talk about here. I'm not going to say that they're wrong. Definitely these are 4 that I've seen quite often in other people's lives, in times I've talked to people in person and in my own life. The first cause is mentioned as genetics. Schizophrenia isn't caused by just one genetic variation, but a complex interplay of genetics and environmental influences. Heredity does play a strong role. Your likelihood of developing schizophrenia is more than 6 times higher if you have a close relative, such as a parent or sibling with the disorder. In my case, it was my mother, my biological mother. Her name was Judy. I have several memories of her. I have one memory of my mother taking me with her in a closet and shutting the door and telling me to be quiet, that it's okay, that we're safe. She often had quite a lot of paranoia that people were after us, they were going to try to kill us, that the house was unsafe, that there were people in the house, that, government agents were outside and watching from a car. She had paranoia about microphones and cameras being in the walls, that the TV was talking to her, the radio was talking to her. Delusions wise, I didn't see a lot of delusional thinking when it came to my mother. I was still young, so I have several memories, but not a lot of her. But I definitely, I seen just enough to be able to be like, yeah, she could have received more help. And if she received more help, she probably would be alive today. Definitely. But like we were talking about, genetics, that's definitely a major cause. Another one, environment. Exposure to viruses or malnutrition before birth, particularly in the first or second trimesters, has been shown to increase the risk of schizophrenia. Recent research also suggests a relationship between autoimmune disorders and the development of psychosis. That's a new one for me. I didn't know that. But environment, definitely. When I was in high school and college, especially in college, I definitely heard a lot of, it's a combination of genetics and environment. And oftentimes that was the only thing that was brought up when it came to the cause of schizophrenia. The next 2 weren't mentioned a lot, but I read about them later on. The third cause that is listed is brain chemistry. Problems with certain brain chemicals, including neurotransmitters called dopamine and glutamate, may contribute to schizophrenia. Neurotransmitters allow brain cells to communicate with each other. Networks of neurons are likely involved as well. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not a big science nerd or a science geek or even a science person. All I got from brain chemistry that I just read to you had to do with neurotransmitters called dopamine. I know what dopamine is. But yeah, whatever that meant, you guys maybe understand that more than I do. The last cause is substance use. Some studies have suggested that taking mind-altering drugs during teen years and young adult can increase the risk of schizophrenia. A growing body of evidence indicates that smoking marijuana increases the risk of psychotic incidences and the risk of ongoing psychotic experiences. The younger, more frequent the use, the greater the risk. I guess when I think about it now, I can see that maybe for me. I mean, in high school, there was a lot of substance use that I had when I was out of the house and that I hid from my adopted parents. Substance use of alcohol, marijuana. I mentioned shrooms. I mentioned coke at parties. Like, I definitely could see substance use playing a role in my schizophrenia early on. Diagnosis. That's the next part NAMI talks about. Diagnosing schizophrenia is not easy. Sometimes using drugs such as methamphetamines or LSD can cause a person to have schizophrenia-like symptoms. The difficulty of diagnosing this illness is compounded by the fact that many people are diagnosed do not believe they have it. Lack of awareness is a common symptom of people diagnosed with schizophrenia and greatly complicates treatment. I would argue with this a little bit, and my argument is that that doctors themselves don't know what they're doing sometimes. Meaning, you could go to 10 different specialists and be diagnosed with 10 different illnesses, and it's like, you claim that I'm not aware, or I'm not self-aware, or that I don't want to accept that I have a schizophrenia diagnosis, but I've gone to 10 of you, and 10 of you are arguing about what I have. Like, it goes on both sides. I think it's not just our issue that we struggle with, but also on the doctor's side, they're struggling a lot since they can't even come to an agreement that it's schizophrenia. Like, don't put the blame all on us. That's wrong. While there is no single physical or lab test that can diagnose schizophrenia, a healthcare provider who evaluates the symptoms and the course of a person's illness over 6 months can ensure a correct diagnosis. The healthcare provider must rule out other factors such as brain tumors, possible medical conditions, and other psychiatric diagnoses such as bipolar disorder. They don't mention there that a lot of people now are being diagnosed with what's called schizoaffective disorder, which is schizophrenia, the psychotic part, combined with either bipolar disorder or depression. And so a lot of people now have a combination of both schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, for example. And boom, it's together. To be diagnosed with schizophrenia, a person must have 2 or more of the following symptoms that we talked about earlier, which were delusions, hallucinations, disorganized speech, disorganized behavior, negative symptoms that we'll talk about. And treatment. They say there is no cure for schizophrenia, but it can be treated and managed in several ways. What's curious about this is you'll probably see a lot on almost all the websites that are related to mental health and schizophrenia. They mention 3 treatments, even though I believe there's a 4th that I've talked about in my previous videos. The first treatment, they talk about antipsychotic medications. Yes, they work. They work for a lot of people. A lot of people are able to live their life more comfortably, safer. They're able to start working. They're able to have a family. They're able to cope. So I've seen antipsychotic medications work for a lot of people. But the flip side is it doesn't work for others. There's other people who the medications have more side effects than actually helping them, and the side effects, are so much more worse than them actually having schizophrenia, and so they stop taking that medication or medications. That was my reason. I stopped cold turkey taking medications about a month and a half, 2 months ago. The reason I did that was because no matter what medication I took, I felt like a very sleepy, lethargic, slow-thinking zombie. I could tell that whatever medication I took was impacting my cognitive ability. I was thinking a lot slower. I couldn't really my thought processing was just jumbled. I was lethargic, sleepy all the time. I didn't have the energy to do things or go out. It wasn't good for me, side effects. And so I chose to stop taking them. For me, I would rather be a schizophrenic and accept my illness and be unmedicated and go with other treatment methods, and that's just my choice. The second treatment method they talk about is psychotherapy, such as cognitive behavioral therapy and assertive community treatment and supportive therapy. Again, this is like medications. I've seen thousands and millions of people benefit from therapy, especially when it comes to mental illnesses. It's beneficial to talk about what's going on, to have someone that will listen, and to feel less alone. It helps a lot. It helps a lot of people, so they can get their thoughts out, and they can be like, am I going crazy? Am I experiencing something real? Is it not real? So when it comes to schizophrenia, therapy is helpful to a lot of people, but again, it doesn't help everyone. There's individuals who attend therapy for years, but they often feel the same as when they walked in, or worse. And part of that for me is that schizophrenia is one of those rare mental illnesses, at least in my mind, that there's not a one cure-all, like a one method treatment. With schizophrenia, there's 5, 10, 15, 20 different ways to treat it, to allow people to be able to cope and live their life to the fullest. A lot of people think of just Western medicine, and they think of, they just think of medication, therapy, coping skills that you learn, and boom, that's it. But it's like, no, there's a lot more other treatments out there that work for people. Just don't close your mind off to it. I mean, the possibilities are endless of how someone can learn to deal with their illness and to be able to live their life the way they want. But that's what NAMI said, right? Now I wanted to get into the difference between positive and negative symptoms, because there's quite a big difference. And I'm going to be talking about kind of what it looks like for me. So positive symptoms, we'll start there. Positive symptoms are highly exaggerated ideas, perceptions, or actions that show the person can't tell what's real from what isn't. Again, positive symptoms are highly exaggerated ideas, perceptions, or actions that show the person can't tell what's real from what isn't. Here, the word positive means the presence rather than the absence of symptoms. Me personally, I don't really like or feel it's beneficial to claim that something's real, that something is real or it isn't. For a doctor, a nurse, a therapist, a psychiatrist, for anyone to tell another person that what you're experiencing is not real, it's fiction, it's a made-up story, you're just hallucinating it, it's all in your mind, that's a heavy claim to make. And that's a heavy claim to make because just because you don't see or hear or feel what that person is going through, how can you just be like, oh, it's not actually happening, you're just crazy, you're just insane, it's just an illness? What? I mean, and these people, the people who, especially the medical field, and Western medicine and the DSM, the diagnostic manual when it comes to explaining illnesses, when it says that this person can't tell what's real from what isn't, it's like you would then have to include millions and millions and millions of religious people in that. because there's millions of people who believe in God, and you can't see God, you can't feel God, and a lot of people say they can't talk to God, that when they talk to God, he doesn't talk back. Same thing with angels and demons and spirits and ghosts. Like, if you're going to tell a schizophrenic that you can't tell the difference between what is real and what isn't, you're going to have to say that to a lot of other people. And so why is it that you're only saying it to us, but you're willing to allow religious people to believe in a God that sits in the sky on clouds and looks down and is like, I'm going to do this and that? Like, I just don't like the language, guys. I don't like the language, period, of what's real from what isn't. And I guess a lot of that for me is because I'm religious. I am spiritual. I do believe in God. I do believe in angels. I believe in demons. I believe in evil. I believe in heaven and hell. Like, I definitely believe in, like I said, spirits and ghosts. Like, yeah, I believe in the supernatural. And so it's like, some people just can't see that stuff. And it's like, just because you can't see that stuff, don't call me crazy. Like, really? You're going to go that far? But we're getting a little bit off subject, aren't we, guys? So the first positive symptom that is talked about is hallucinations. It says people with schizophrenia might hear, see, smell, or feel things that no one else does. Now that I'm willing to say yes and agree to. If you're going to say things no one else does, okay. But don't say it's not real. That's just a whole different can of worms, guys. So, hallucinations, there's quite a different number of them that's listed. The first one is auditory. The person most often hears voices in their head. They might be angry or urgent and demand that they do things. It can sound like one voice or many. They might whisper, murmur, or be angry and demanding. I've heard doctors say this. I've heard it in the hospital. I've read it in different science journals and stuff and studies. That auditory hallucinations are most common. I guess, sure, I'm willing to be like, yeah. But I also think that visual hallucinations happen a lot more often than people think, and that they're willing to express. I think that visual hallucinations are those kind of things that if you see it, you might not even think about it in the moment that it's happening, that you're seeing what you're seeing, and it kind of just goes in the back of your mind and you don't think about it again. So auditory and visual hallucinations, for me, I feel like they're a lot more common and happen frequently than people say. But when it comes to auditory hallucinations, I've had auditory hallucinations since high school. The most popular voice, or the voice that I've heard for the longest time, they go by the name Skylar. Skylar, I've heard since high school. In high school, Skylar started out as being kind of laid back, caring, was trying to help me cope with my symptoms. Skylar, in the beginning of high school, would ask kind of things like, how are you doing? What's wrong? What are you thinking about? How can I help you? Skylar would listen a lot more than talk in high school. And so I grew quite close to Skylar. And for me, she was as real as anybody around me. I started thinking of her as an actual person, and there was times that I heard her, I saw her, I could touch her, and it all was like my five senses are telling me that 100%. You're real. It's realistic. Like, my brain was like, no, this is no way a trick. It's happening. So Skylar was from the beginning. Skylar, once I got into college, it's like a switch was tripped, or what do you say? Someone hit the switch on the wall. Skylar became vulgar, demanding, violent, suggestive, rude. And in college, Skylar was one of the main reasons why I attempted to kill myself several times. After college, up until now, as I make this video, Skylar is still one of the main voices and one of the entities. I mean, I would say spirit or demon for me. Demon that I see on a regular basis, like visually. Skylar changes clothes once in a while, but normally, Skylar is either in two outfits. Skylar is either in a red dress with heels, or she is in boots with black latex pants and a corset. Skylar switches. I've seen her hair long blonde hair. I've seen more like black hair in a ponytail. I've seen some curly hair once. But it changes up once in a while for Skylar. But yeah, so I've seen Skylar visually, and I hear her quite often. There's a recent auditory hallucination that I've heard that goes by the name Cheyenne. Cheyenne I've seen visually once in a while, but Cheyenne is more auditory. But like I said, I've seen Cheyenne with Skylar before. I've seen them together at the same time. Cheyenne I would describe as more of a ranch hand / cowgirl. When I've seen Cheyenne visually, she's more in like cowboy boots, Wrangler jeans, flannel. That's just kind of what she looks like that I've seen her. They're the two main ones right now. I've had a couple others in the past that I've given names. I've talked about in my blog on WordPress before. There was one auditory hallucination that was a visual hallucination in high school, who he carried around a cricket bat, and he carried around this cricket bat and would claim that he's protecting me. And so if I ever got bullied, if anyone ever said anything to me, if anyone ever tried to fight me, or if I felt afraid, he would come around and start swinging the cricket bat and telling me that I need to leave because he's going to crack some heads open, his words. Yeah, so what has happened, I've had auditory hallucinations that have been both loud, vulgar, and violent, but I've also had some that have been whispers. High school, in high school they started out as whispers, then got louder and louder. In college, my auditory hallucinations were loud, screaming, yelling, or just out of control. That carried on through my late 20s, early 30s. Now, as we do this video, my auditory hallucinations are more whispers at this moment. I wouldn't say murmurs. They're definitely whispers to where I can still hear them in the background. I can 100% understand them. I can hear them. They're speaking full sentences. Even though they're whispering, they're still trying to be persuadable, trying to make deals, trying to do commands. Like, it's just what they're doing. The next one for hallucinations is visual. Someone might see lights, objects, people, or patterns. Often it's loved ones or friends who are no longer alive. They may also have trouble with depth perception and distance. My visual hallucinations have been so diverse, I'm telling you. In high school and college, I would visually hallucinate animals, so like lions, tigers, polar bears, giraffes, wolves. I would witness animals in the classrooms while the teacher's talking. When I was listening to a lecture in college and the professor was, talking, again, I would see animals just roaming around. I visually hallucinated, like when I looked at paintings or a picture. Whatever is painted in the picture, I've seen that character or whatever it is come to life and come out of the portrait. And imagine, the best way for me to explain this is imagine, or not even imagine, if you've ever seen the movie The Ring and how the little girl, you see her on the TV and then she crawls out from the TV. Imagine that, but paintings and portraits. That's what happens for me. Let's see. For me, it's been a lot of people and animals, not as much lights or objects. I've visually hallucinated my biological parents before. They passed away. My mom passed away when I was 6. My dad passed away when I was 9. Both from a combination of drugs and bad health. But I visually hallucinated my biological parents before. I've talked to them. They tried to persuade me to kill myself several times to be with them again. So I've had those visual hallucinations. Most recently, my visual hallucinations have been horror movie characters from scary movies. So like Pennywise the Clown, Ghostface from Scream, Chucky, Freddy Krueger, that stupid leprechaun from the Leprechaun movies. If anyone knows the series Hellraiser, I've hallucinated some of those demons in that movie/series. But those are kind of my visual hallucinations recently that have been more horror movies and demons. For me, I mean, because I am religious, because I believe in God and the Bible and the Book of Mormon, I believe in Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, like, I believe in heaven and hell, which also means I believe in angels, I believe in demons, I believe in bad spirits, I believe in evil, Satan, or if you want to call him Lucifer, like, I believe a lot of my hallucinations are demons. That's just, I'm 100% certain that's what they are, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm not afraid to say it. And when doctors and therapists and psychiatrists and nurses try to tell me, oh, you're just kind of crazy, it's not real, like, bitch, please. Or I swore again. Sorry, I don't mean to swear. It just happens sometimes. Like, I'm like, no. Like, don't tell me that, because 100% it's real. I see them. They're right in front of me. I can literally touch them. I can feel them breathing on me. When they touch me, I feel them touching my skin. Like, it hurts. If they do harm to me, it can hurt. Like, so for me, I feel like a lot of my visual hallucinations are demons, and that's just my opinion. Let's go on. Other hallucinations, they talk about olfactory and gustatory. This can include good and bad smells and tastes. Someone might believe they're being poisoned and refuse to eat. I've had only a few taste hallucinations. There's been a couple times I've hallucinated tasting copper. As if like I'm chewing on pennies and like licking pennies all day. It doesn't matter what I eat. I could be eating at Chipotle, at McDonald's, you know, a plate of wings from Buffalo Wild Wings, like a rack of ribs. It doesn't matter. Like, during those moments, I thought everything tasted like rust, like copper. And it's like, that's gross, disgusting. The last hallucination they mention is tactile. This creates a feeling of things moving on your body, such as hands or insects. For me, my visual hallucinations often can be tactile. So when I'm visually hallucinating horror movie characters, when I'm visually hallucinating demons, and they start putting their hands on my shoulders and touching me and moving their hands on my body, like 100%, I feel it. It's on my skin. I get goosebumps. I get the chills. Like, it feels as real as someone giving me a massage. Like, they're both, the same five senses are occurring during both. Like, that's just how my hallucinations work. But yeah, let's move on. And the next one they talk about is delusions for positive symptoms. These are beliefs that seem strange to most people and are easy to prove wrong. The person affected might think someone is trying to control their brain through a TV, or that the FBI is out to get them. They might believe there's someone else, like a famous star or the president, or they have superpowers. They mention a couple delusions I've had before, that someone is trying to control your brain, and that the FBI is out to get them. Those are two of my common delusions I have a lot. One of the reasons why I normally don't go to the hospital, like when I'm having a psychotic episode, one of the reasons why I refuse to go to the hospital a lot of the time is because I think that people are trying to control my brain, and they're going to put me down and sedate me and literally steal my brain from my head. And so that's one of the reasons why I probably don't trust surgeons. I don't trust doctors or nurses very much, because of delusional thoughts. And that's just kind of what I've been experiencing over the years. FBI is out to get them. Over the past couple months, I've had that delusional thought once in a while. It's lasted several days before, to where I think like two government agents are following me in their car or on the bus, and they're out to get me. So delusions I've experienced before. There's different types of delusions that they mention here. One of them, the first one, is called persecutory delusions. These may make you feel that someone's after you, or that you're being stalked, hunted, framed, or tricked. That's where I mentioned the government agents again. Or one common delusion is that they're stalking me, whether I go to Starbucks or out to eat or church or home. I just feel like believe they're stalking me, that they're watching me, that they put cameras and microphones in the walls of my apartment, that they're listening, they're recording me. So I've had those delusions before. Another delusion is called referential delusions, when a person believes that public forms of communication, such as song lyrics or a gesture from a TV host, are a special message just for them. This happened more when I was in college, to where I would listen to music, or I would see a billboard or a sign on the road, or even when I watch TV, I would feel like I'm getting a special message, and often that special message had to do with a top secret CIA mission I was given, that I was on. So I had those type of delusions in college a lot, which were one of probably several reasons why I was going all over town, and I was, yeah. Just think of the craziness that can happen when you're listening to a song in class, and then all of a sudden you think you're getting a secret message from the CIA that says you need to go to this place at this time to meet this person because they're gonna hand you a note that gives you your next instructions of what to do. And so you leave class abruptly without warning, and you're like, I'm out. And then you go and try to meet this person at this place. And it's like, there's a lot of trouble you can get into when you're that delusional. Another delusion, somatic delusions. These center on the body. The person thinks they have a terrible illness or bizarre health problem, such as worms under the skin or damage from cosmic rays. I've actually I don't think I've ever had somatic delusions. I've heard them from other schizophrenics, but me personally, I haven't had really much experience with them. Let's see, another one, erotomanic delusions. Erotomanic delusions. A person might be convinced a celebrity is in love with them or that their partner is cheating, or they might think people they're not attracted to are pursuing them. Again, I've never really had this delusion. My main delusions have been persecutory delusions, referential delusions, and yeah, a couple other delusions we'll mention too, but I've never thought a celebrity was in love with me. Never. Another type of delusion. So this one is religious delusions that I have a problem with a lot. I just disagree about it. Someone might think they have a special relationship with a deity or that they're possessed by a demon. For me, it's very contradictory that the mental health field, that Western medicine, that science is willing to proclaim and is willing to go as far as being like, I'm a psychiatrist, I'm a doctor at the ER, and I'm saying that you have a religious delusion just because you just told me that you're possessed by a demon or a demon's trying to kill you or that God's talking to you. Like, for someone to go as far as to be like you're delusional because of those beliefs, it's a bit of a stretch for me. Because like I said before, like I believe in God and I talk to God many times a day. Sometimes it's once, sometimes it's 10 times a day. I have conversations with God throughout the day, and He talks back, and I get advice, and we're chatting, and we're having a sincere conversation about life and how He can help me and guide me. So, like, if by me having a conversation with God throughout the day means I'm delusional, okay, I guess so. Possessed by a demon, like, I've never believed that I was possessed by a demon. I remember when I practiced Islam and was Muslim, that there was several people at the mosque that thought I was possessed by a demon, and they wanted to exorcise it from me. Like, they wanted me to go through an exorcism, which I thought was crazy at the time. But I've never thought I was possessed by a demon. I've at times thought a demon or demons were trying to kill me. I've thought that Satan was after me. But again, like religious delusions, like for medical professionals to go as far as to be like, yeah, you're delusional because you believe in the supernatural or you believe in a deity. Like, I just think it's insane. I mean, definitely, I guess I'm willing to say there's extremes, like if someone claims that they talk to God 24/7 hours a day and that they're going to go out on the street corner and prophesize that I'm a prophet and God's telling me to condemn all you sinners, blah, 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 then I would be like, that person probably is having a delusion, maybe. Like, I think it has to do with extremes, but for a medical professional to be like, yep, religious delusion, like, I think that's bollocks. I think it's bullshit. But extremes are possible. Like, I think you can be on the opposite side of an extreme when it comes to religion. But yeah, religious delusions are something they mention. Someone might think they have a special relationship with the deity, or that they're possessed by a demon. Like, if a doctor is willing to claim that, they would have to say that Jesus Christ was suffering from a religious delusion. Because Jesus Christ talked to his Father every day. He would pray every day. He would have conversations with him. He would receive messages. Jesus Christ received revelation from Heavenly Father. Like, yeah, if someone's going to tell me I'm having religious delusions, then you would have to say Jesus Christ had religious delusions, Moses did, Noah did, all of them did. You would have to be like Martin Luther King had religious delusions. Like, every well-known historical religious person you would have to say had religious delusions. Like, just to point out people who have schizophrenia having them is wrong. Let's see. Also, part of it, I think, is people are afraid. They're fearful. They don't like when people stick out. A lot of people don't like when people have difference of opinions with them. Especially when it comes to medical providers, when it comes to Western medicine. I do believe there's a lot of ego that happens of, I know best, I know what I'm doing because I've been to school for this many years and I've studied this many years and read this many books, and I went to school and got my bachelor's and master's and PhD from this school, and because my degree is from this institution, that means I know what I'm doing. Like, yeah, I just think there's a lot of ego that happens, and that ego gets in the way, and they think that they know best for you and they know better, and they claim to know what's happening when they don't actually. They don't know anything. But yeah, we're getting sidetracked on religious delusions because I have a major problem with them. I think that they're just bullocks. Let's see. Another one, grandiose delusions. The affected individuals might consider themselves to be a major figure on the world stage, such as an entertainer or a politician. I've never really had grandiose delusions. I've never thought of myself as a major figure or an entertainer or a politician, so I can't speak on this one. I really can't. Let's see. Confused thoughts and disorganized speech. People with schizophrenia can have a hard time organizing their thoughts. They might not be able to follow along when you talk to them. Instead, it might seem like they're zoning out or distracted. When they talk, their words can come out jumbled and not make sense. I've definitely had confused thoughts and disorganized speech a lot. I find it quite difficult to organize my thoughts. Whether in high school, college, or now, I can lose my place quite easily from going thought to thought, topic to topic. Organizing my thoughts of what I should say first, like speeches, talks, interviews. If someone records a video of me, like asking me questions, like organizing my thoughts in that moment can be difficult. And some of that has to do with the voices I hear and what I visually hallucinate. Hearing voices can distract you so bad. And that's usually what happens to me, is even when the voices are whispering, they still distract me, which then causes me to have trouble organizing my thoughts. But yeah, let's see. They might not be able to follow along when you talk to them. When I'm having conversations with people, I might ask them a couple times to repeat themselves or to slow down. So I guess I could see me having a little bit of issues there. I wouldn't say it's confused thought or disorganized speech just because I asked someone to slow down or repeat themselves. It just takes me a little bit more effort to keep up. Zoning out or distracted. Like I mentioned, I mean, when you're hearing voices 24/7 or visually hallucinating, it's gonna be distracting. Like when I'm in Starbucks and I hallucinate a surgeon operating on a body or a person without anesthesia, and that person is screaming at the top of their lungs and blood is going everywhere, like, how can you not be distracted by that? Like, that's happened to me several times where I'm trying to enjoy what I'm drinking, whether it's coffee or strawberry lemonade or enjoying my bagel, and there it is, just this surgeon with knives and scalpels and cutting open a body, and they're like screaming, "Help me!" And I'm like, how can I not look up and be like, what the heck's going on? Like, it's impossible for me to pretend this isn't happening. Like, it's impossible for me to pretend that I don't see Pinhead from Hellraiser sitting in a chair staring at me. Like, it's impossible for me to be like, I'm going to ignore this demon that is 10 feet away from me. Like, yeah. It's... yeah, like... when you have schizophrenia, you get distracted easy. Let's see. Sorry guys, someone came in and then walked out, so I was waiting for them to go. But like I said, at least when it comes to my schizophrenia and being schizophrenic, like, I am distracted 100% of the time, and it's very easy for me to get distracted by what I hear and see. Like, I've seen the little girl from It sitting right next to me at a restaurant, and it's like, how can I not look and be distracted and like, why the hell are you sitting next to me moment? Like, anyone who says they could ignore that is out of their damn mind. Like, no, you can't. Get the heck out of here. When they talk, their words can come out jumbled and not make sense. I've actually never had that happen to me. I've had times of mania, of like increased energy to where I jump from topic to topic, idea to idea, where one sentence will be about something and then the next sentence will be about another thing. But to me, it makes sense. But I don't think there's ever been a time to where I've had like word salad, to where it literally didn't make sense, like that there was no underlying theme. Like, that's never happened to me. Let's see, another one. Trouble concentrating. For example, someone might lose track of what's going on in a TV show as they're watching it. I feel like trouble concentrating can be anything. And it's not even, it doesn't even have to do with schizophrenia. Like, there's so many people that have trouble concentrating who are normal, quote unquote, don't have an illness. So this one, I kind of would scratch. I wouldn't actually include it here. I think it's BS, but if you think about it, like, of course you can lose track of what's going on because you're distracted by what you're hearing and seeing. You're distracted by your paranoia. You're distracted by your delusions. So, like, of course it's going to come to a moment to where you're not even paying attention to the TV show or the movie you're watching. So, like, duh, that's probably going to happen. Let's see, movement disorders. Some people with schizophrenia can seem jumpy. At times they'll make the same movements over and over again. By sometimes they might remain perfectly still for hours, but sometimes they might remain perfectly still for hours at a stretch, which experts call being catatonic. Contrary to popular beliefs, people with the disease usually aren't violent. I like how they include that last bit on this, just as a little side note. But I haven't really had any issues with movement disorders. Like, I haven't sat still for 2 hours before. Jumpy. I haven't really been jumpy before. Even when I have visual hallucinations that are supposed to be scary, I don't get jumpy. Like, the most common reaction I have is like, what the hell are you doing? Why the hell are you here? Why are you bothering me? Why are you saying what you're saying? Why can't you leave me alone? What is your problem? Like, those are my reactions. Like, I sometimes will have conversations with with my visual hallucinations, and I'll talk to them, and we'll go back and forth. But yeah, but I like that. Contrary to popular belief, people with schizophrenia usually aren't violent. No duh, guys. Most often, we're the ones that are under attack, that people harm. More often, we're the victims. I mean, it reminds me of that story of the guy on the subway who was having a mental health crisis, and then like a Marine or a military soldier or whatever like put him in a headlock and choked him out and killed him. Like, people with schizophrenia, like, oftentimes out in public are doing things, and like someone will like perceive it that they're gonna hurt, that someone perceives that schizophrenic is gonna hurt somebody, or they're a danger, and then the person is like, I'm going to manhandle them, and I'm going to, put them in a headlock, and like, it's like, leave us alone. Like, we're not gonna bother you, we're not gonna harm you, like, we're just trying to mind our own business. Like, leave us alone. Let us be crazy. Let us be ourselves. Jesus. But yeah. Sorry, guys. Next, negative symptoms. Negative symptoms refer to an absence. Negative symptoms refer to an absence. I can't speak. Negative symptoms refer to an absence or lack of normal mental function involving thinking, behavior, and perception. For example, lack of pleasure. The person might not seem to enjoy anything anymore. A doctor will call this anhedonia. This has happened to me a couple times. The person may not seem to enjoy anything anymore. Like, Sorry, guys, we're gonna wait for a minute. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm tired of being bothered. Especially, it's the same guy who's walking back and forth. And it's like, why are you walking back and forth? So, okay. Ow. So let's talk about this. Negative symptoms. We were on lack of pleasure. The person may not seem to enjoy anything anymore. A doctor will call this anhedonia. I wouldn't say that it's that we're not enjoying anything anymore. For me, that I've seen in my experience, it's more that either I'm distracted or I'm afraid. Like, lack of pleasure is how they define it. That term bothers me. I think about it like this, like, if you're hearing voices 24/7, it's probably going to be hard to enjoy playing video games. For example, like, if you're hearing voices, are you going to be able to fully concentrate on that video game? Probably not, because you're going to hear the voices and then you're going to try to listen to the video game and what's happening, and it's going to conflict with each other. And that's really what happens to me, is that I will try to go to the park, I will try to go to the mall, walk around, go, on a hike or a walk, a dog park, go to a coffee shop and, listen to some open mic poetry, like, go to a museum. Like, I want to do those things. I find those are things that I like doing. But the problem is when I'm doing those things now, especially when my schizophrenia symptoms are going haywire and crazy, like, of course it's going to be hard to enjoy yourself because your schizophrenia symptoms are getting in the way. So I don't think it's lack of pleasure. I just think things are getting in the way from you enjoying your time. The next one, trouble with speech. They might not talk much or show any feelings. Doctors call this alogia, A-L-O-G-I-A. Alogia. I can't speak that word. That's a really short word, but it's hard to say. But trouble with speech, yes. I've seen that. I've seen other schizophrenics who don't talk as much or show any feelings. So I would say yes, that happens actually quite a lot when it comes to negative symptoms of people with schizophrenia. I've never actually had it impact me in terms of me not talking much. There's been times to where it's difficult for me to show feelings, which impacts relationships. I've been in a couple different relationships to where my schizophrenia and my negative symptom when it comes to this of showing feelings got in the way, to where that person thought I didn't care about them as much, or I didn't love them as much, or that I wasn't listening to them. And so that's how it got in the way for me in relationships. It is difficult for me to show feelings and emotions sometimes just because I'm so wrapped up in my own head. Because I'm so lost in my own mind, I'm sometimes not aware that, oh crap, in this situation it requires me to show people that I care, that I can empathize or sympathize, that I'm sincere, that I, have compassion and those things. Like, it can be hard sometimes to show those attributes when you got so much going on in your brain. So that's how I think about it. Another negative symptom they mention is flattening. The person with schizophrenia might seem like they have a terrible case of the blahs. When they talk, their voice can sound flat, like they have no emotions. They may not smile normally or show usual facial emotions in response to conversations or things happening around them. A doctor might call this affective flattening. I'll be honest, guys. I don't think I've really ever had an issue with flattening. Terrible case of blahs. I don't think I've ever had that. When my voice sounds flat, or they have no emotion, I've heard that from other people before. When I've been in relationships, like mentioned a couple minutes ago, I've heard from a couple different partners that when I talked, it sounded like I didn't care or that I had no emotion. So I've heard that from others concerning my schizophrenia, but I've never really been aware of it in the moment when it happens. Only I've been told afterwards, after the fact. So that's my experience with this symptom. The next one is withdrawal. This might include no longer making plans with friends or becoming a hermit. Talking to the person can feel like pulling teeth. If you want an answer, you have to really work to pry it out of them. Doctors call this apathy. Sorry, guys. And there's a couple parts of this that I agree with. I've been in situations to where I no longer wanted to make plans with friends, where I wanted to stay inside and be alone and away from people, so I get that. But the part that I've experienced most for a negative symptom was when it says talking to the person can feel like pulling teeth. If you want an answer, you have to really work to pry it out of them. That's been my issue. Whether it was high school, college, my late 20s, early 30s, and now. Like, I've been told by friends and partners in relationships that they felt like that they had to ask so many questions just to get basic information. And that they would think you're hiding something. But it's like, no, I'm not hiding anything. I just don't feel the need to tell people everything that's on my mind. I don't feel the need to tell people what I'm thinking or feeling. Like, I just don't feel the need to express myself and communicate with people. Like, I just want to withdraw, like it says. Like, I want to isolate my feelings and emotions a lot of the time. And because of that, it probably is hard for people to get answers to questions, and it's hard for them to get information from me. So in that sense, I get the withdrawal because that's how it applies to my situation. Let's see, struggling with the basics of daily life. They may stop bathing or taking care of themselves. For that negative symptom, there's been times to where I don't take showers or wash my clothes or brush my teeth. So I get that. The basic necessities of daily life, like if the voices get bad enough, and if my visual hallucinations and the demons get bad enough, like if the demons get to the point that they're bothering me too much, I probably will not take a shower that night or that day. Like, I'll probably wear the same clothes a couple days in a row. I might forget to brush my teeth or wash my clothes. So, like, in that fact, I can see where they're going. I've heard other schizophrenics talk about not taking a bath for like a week, or like wearing the same clothes for a week. Like, I've heard of that. Not washing themselves with soap or shampoo. Like, I've heard of things like that. Let's see, next, no follow through. People with schizophrenia have trouble staying on schedule or finishing what they start. Sometimes they can't get started at all. A doctor might call this avolition. Avolition. Evolution. They aren't very specific when it comes to this. Like, have trouble staying on schedule or finishing what they start. That happens to me a lot, though. Like, I'll start a movie and I won't finish it. I'll turn to something else. Or I'll start a TV show, I won't finish it. I'll turn to something else. Or I'll start reading a book and then I just won't finish it. I'll start writing a blog post or start a video and then won't finish it. Staying on schedule, like, I was really bad when it came to high school and college and my graduate degree, just because, college classes have a schedule. They have a certain time they start and that they end, and exams and all that. And I was really bad on staying on that schedule of keeping up. And so I guess for that fact, I was really bad at keeping a schedule. But yeah, no follow through. I mean, in instances, I've really struggled with following through, so I guess that's been a negative symptom of mine in the past. Decreased desire to socialize. There's not much motivation to be around other people, and interactions can be awkward. For sure, yes. It happens a lot to where I'm not motivated to be around other people. Like, it happens probably like 50% of the time. Like, when I wake up in the morning, there's a very good chance I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to see anyone. I don't want anyone to say hello to me. I don't want to receive texts or calls. Like, I want to be left alone. And a lot of that has to do with because when I wake up in the morning, I'm hearing voices. When I'm in the shower, I hear voices. When I'm brushing my teeth, I hear voices. When I'm on the bus, I hear voices. When I'm at Starbucks, I hear voices. Like, that stuff doesn't stop. And because it doesn't stop, I want as minimal amount of interactions with real people as possible. Because I can't handle both at the same time. It's very hard for me to handle both at the same time. Because if I'm talking to a real person, that means I have to keep up with the conversation and pay attention and not get distracted by what I'm seeing around me. And that's hard to do. And that also implies if I'm having a conversation with you, a real person, that I have to listen so I can reply with something that makes sense, that shows I'm following the conversation. So, like, there's a lot that has to do with when it comes to interacting with other people. So I can see why schizophrenics would have such an issue with that type of, or just, I can see why schizophrenics would struggle with being able to interact with real people on a daily basis. It can be difficult. Let's see. Cognitive symptoms and thinking problems, it talks about. These symptoms reflect how well the person's brain learns, stores, and uses information. Some with schizophrenia might have a hard time with their working memory. For example, they may not be able to keep track of different kinds of facts at the same time, such as a phone number plus instructions, along with having trouble paying attention, and can be hard for them to organize their thoughts and make decisions. We've already talked about quite a lot of this. What I'll say is that my memory is really bad. I cannot remember numbers, period, like phone numbers. I don't remember any of my friends' phone numbers. I don't remember my adopted parents' phone numbers. Same thing with birthdays. Like, I don't remember anyone's birthdays that I know. But yeah, birthdays, phone numbers, I don't know. Like, when it comes to my memory, like, I don't even remember what I did a week ago. Like, if someone asked me, what did you do on Saturday, this past Saturday, I'd be like, I don't know. Like, I don't remember. It's hard for me to think about that far back and to remember what I did. Unless I wrote something down or recorded a video, that's the only way I'm going to remember and know what I did. Otherwise, I'm out of luck. Like, sorry, no bueno. Like, I can't answer your question. But that's how bad my memory is. Like, my short-term memory is really bad. My long-term memory is really bad. And a lot of that has to do with the alcohol and the drugs and my history with substance abuse, and also my schizophrenia itself has really messed up my memory. But yeah, that was positive and negative symptoms. I don't know who's calling. Let's see. Hello?
Hello, looking for Brother Zilberg.
Yeah, right here.
Hey, this is Bishop Ford. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Bishop?
Good. I'm sorry, I don't think I've ever met you before.
It's okay. I think we met at church a couple times.
I don't have your records in our ward. Where are you from?
I was living in Alaska for the past 2 years, so my records could be in Seward, Alaska, or Anchorage, Alaska. It just depends.
Okay, I'm kind of a less active bishop. I work a few Sundays in a row, and then I get to go to church for a few.
It's okay.
So I'm kind of there about 60-something% of the time.
It's okay.
The missionary said that you were in need.
Yes.
Tell me what's going on.
A lot of it just has to do with I don't have the funds when it comes to keeping up with groceries and food. I'm on disability, and so my disability check goes really quickly due to bills like rent and cell phone and stuff. And so right now I don't have groceries to be able to eat. And so I was just asking if they could reach out to you or anyone in the ward who could help me with just being able to receive some food so I have like some minimal groceries available.
Part of our challenge is we do orders through the bishop's storehouse, but those orders take a couple weeks to get, it takes a while to get processed.
Oh, okay.
Ordered on a Saturday. We don't have a way, the ward doesn't have a credit card or anything to go buy groceries right away. And so that's a challenge that we have. We could put a food order in for you. We just don't have any way to get it today.
Oh, okay.
I do have a couple dollars in my desk at the church building that I could help you out with. But it would be very minimal. I don't know what you're thinking.
I don't know. I was really just in my head. I was thinking just the basics, just so at least I had something to eat.
I don't have the ability to go grocery shopping for you, but I do have the ability to give you a couple dollars.
Sure, that would be appreciated.
Where are you located at?
I live across the street from the YMCA.
Okay. Could you text your address to this number?
Sure.
And I'll try and swing by the church tonight. And when I come your way, I'll text you and let you know I'm outside.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you, Bishop.
All right. Sounds good. His first name is Stephen?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. Sounds good. I'll look forward to seeing you.
Yep, thank you. Bye. Sorry, guys. So you just heard one of my issues right now is that I am on disability, and my disability check runs out very quickly because of my rents and cell phone bill and just when it comes to bills overall. And so I right now don't have money for groceries, and I am asking for help from my church to help me with being able to get some groceries. As you can see, I don't really like to edit these videos. I like to just keep it as going as possible. But yeah, so sorry, 1 second, guys. Someone just messaged me, but we're done with that part of positive and negative symptoms. So crap. Sorry, guys. I know this isn't part of like watching me text someone, but sorry, bro. But yeah, like I said, we went over positive and negative symptoms, so that was good. And I shared, hopefully me being able to share kind of how I experienced the positive and negative symptoms helped you guys kind of be able to see how schizophrenia kind of shows up in people's lives. As you can tell by the symptoms, schizophrenia itself is a spectrum when it comes to the symptoms and experiencing them. Schizophrenics, people with schizophrenia, they experience the illness differently. How I experience my symptoms is different from how someone on YouTube experiences it. And my struggle with it is not the same as another person's. It's just, that's how life is. We're all unique, we're all different, and our five senses interpret what we experience differently, and that's what happens with schizophrenia. Is the way my five senses interprets what I see, hear, and feel will be different compared to someone else. That's the easiest way to explain it. But yeah, that's really what I wanted to talk about today was breaking down what is schizophrenia, what the heck does it mean, what does it include, what are signs that you can look for in a family member or a friend or a spouse. I want to apologize for being interrupted while I was in the kitchen of my apartment and then while I was on the phone with the bishop from my church, but my apologies, guys. I didn't mean to be interrupted. But yeah, let's see, what can we end on this video? What I'll say is a couple of the symptoms that were mentioned, me personally, I don't like how they're described. One of them that we talked about was religious delusions. I just don't like that wording. I don't like how it sounds, what it means, the connotation of it. I don't even like how the medical field talks about it. I just think it's really tough to claim or say that someone is having a religious delusion just because you disagree or you're not of the same faith, or because you don't believe in God, or because you don't believe that angels or demons or God or Jesus is real, or because you don't believe the Savior, died and was resurrected to provide you grace and salvation. Like, just because you're not of the same faith doesn't mean you have the right to say that we're having a religious delusion. But yeah, I don't want to get sidetracked because of that, but anyways, yeah, that was, I keep saying yeah. I don't know why I keep saying yeah. But as you can see, I'm doing really well today. I feel happy. I feel stable, at peace. I'm happy to be talking to you guys about schizophrenia and everything that has to do with it. One of the treatments that really they don't talk about in the two sites, the Mayo Clinic and NAMI that we talked about, was faith. Crap. That has to do with faith. I do believe when it comes to treatment that faith is just as much of faith is just as much of a medicine as therapy or medications. I do believe that people who believe in God, Heavenly Father, people who believe in Jesus Christ as their Savior, people who believe in the Holy Spirit, that faith, even if it's a mustard seed, can blossom into hope and can blossom into peace and contentment and courage. I've seen in my own life how faith was the type of medicine that I needed in order to accept my schizophrenia and to be able to believe that and to know that I'm strong enough to be able to get through it. It's just my own experience that my relationship with God and Jesus Christ was what saved me and is allowing me to make these videos for you guys and to talk about schizophrenia and struggles and share my views and experiences. But yeah, I guess for me, I'll end on a note that is about keep your heart open and be open to new possibilities. If medication isn't working, if therapy isn't working, if both of them aren't working, don't be afraid to go to the mosque or the church or the synagogue. Don't be afraid to pray, because prayer is a powerful tool, and building a relationship with God and building a relationship with Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit, I'm telling you, it could save your life. It could provide the stability you are seeking to feel better. But yeah, just keep your heart open for all the possibilities that are around you, for sure. And also for those who don't have schizophrenia, I hope this video gives you a little insight into what to look out for with people who you care about. The best way to help them, I believe, is to don't judge and definitely be supportive. Don't diminish or don't talk as if what they're experiencing isn't real. Validate their experiences as happening, as 100% probably being annoying, that it's distracting, that it's painful, that it's scary. When you're hearing voices 24/7, when you hallucinate visually, it can be scary, it can be frightening. And if we have a friend, our mom or dad, our partner, our spouse, our boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever it is, if we hear them and they tell us, we're here for you, we understand that you're going through something and we know it's scary, you're not alone, for us to have our feelings and experiences validated, it can mean a lot, and it can be a positive impact that allows us to reach out and allow you to help us. I mean, it can do wonders. Just validating our experience as real and happening, I think, is the first step to supporting someone with schizophrenia, period. But yeah, I don't want to go too far. This is already an hour and 45 minutes. I got distracted, off topic several times. I answered a phone call, sorry guys. But I'm going to end this video right now at an hour and 45 minutes. I appreciate you guys, I really do. Like always, I love you guys. Always know that there's hope, have courage, Never give up. Take it one day at a time. For everyone out there who listens and watches, understand you're loved, you're cared for, you're not alone. Whether you believe in God or not, I 100% believe that God wants to have a relationship with you. God wants to speak to you and hear your voice and provide comfort to you. Jesus Christ wants to build that relationship with you. He wants to be able to embrace you and love you and provide that wisdom you need during times of trials and tribulations. The Holy Spirit wants to be able to guide you as well every day. Don't be afraid. I know things are tough. I understand it's easier to ignore them and run away and act like you don't need their help, but sooner or later you're going to come a time in your life to where no matter how strong you are, no matter how bad you think you can handle what you're experiencing, you're going to need a little bit of extra help, some support. And Heavenly Father, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit want to be that extra support for you. But yeah, they've been that extra support for me for the past couple months, and I'm happy that I did what I did. I'm happy that I was vulnerable and cried like a baby in my shower and prayed to God and asked for forgiveness and really asked God to be a part of my life, and Heavenly Father answered. And ever since a month and a half ago, my life has changed completely. But yeah, guys, I love you guys, and I'm sorry for this long video again filled with distractions, but I hope it's helpful. I love you guys. Peace out.